Hi! Welcome to this video from Perfectly Naughty about how I turned the thicker sole on this sock. I hope that you find some of the tips and tricks in this video to be helpful. Don't forget to subscribe and watch through to the end. I've got another couple little tips to talk about the cuff. Okay, hello everybody. Thanks for joining me. I am going to be showing you today how I did this heel. In the previous video, we talked about making the sole of the foot thicker. We're going to use a similar technique up here on the heel of triple stranding, except we're also doing this in back and forth rows instead of in rounds like we do on the body of the foot. And we're also going to be doing the short row shaping to turn the heel at the same time. So we're going to move everything over onto a double point for the stitches I'm going to be working on, and I have the top of the foot over here on a stitch holder. You don't have to do this, and I just did it because I thought it would be easier while I'm recording this video to not have so many needles going all over the place. Alright, so I already attached my heel color right here. I did it from this side and I knit across. Now this happened to be on the single strand row of the body of the foot, which means that for the heels all of my purl rows are going to be the triple strand. I am using some stitch markers. I'm going to just pop them off of this over here because I don't need them over here anymore. And I'll show you how I am managing all of this. Alright, so if you recall, when you turn a heel, you want to slip the first stitch. So we're going to go ahead and slip that first stitch like that. I am going to set my stitch marker on here. You do not have to use stitch markers. I'm doing that so that way in this video you can really see what I am doing. Alright, now in order to make my heel thicker, I need the yarn to be 3 strands, and I want it to be 3 times the length. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, and that's my, so that would do a single strand across the row, and then we're going to double it back up like that and cinch it up. And oh, I've got this tangled over here because I'm working off both sides again. There we go. Undo that a little bit. Okay, so I've got it folded up so it is a double strand, 3 lengths the width of the stitches, and then I'm going to bring it back on itself. So now I have this triple stranded yarn to work with. My slipped stitch, my marker, just so I have the visibility for you guys. And now we're going to purl across the row. So I'm going to put the folded end over and that single right there. There we go. And then we're going to purl across the row. It's a little, it's not hard, but it can be a little fiddly because just in the how do you hold all of the things aspect. And then of course I am knitting this on top of a table, which is not particularly ergonomic for me. And I'm also working around the legs of my camera tripod. So it's a little extra, a little extra ergonomic challenge there. Okay. If you recall from watching the previous video, I am working on from some scrap yarn. So I'm working on both the inside pole and the outside for each sock, so that way I know when I get to the middle. That's just my little way of using up some yarn. I don't know how well this yarn is going to hold up as a sock. It has a really nice fiber content combination for this, so I am happy about that. Having a really high level of nylon. Alright, we're almost at the end there. I'm going to show you a little trick I've figured out when I get down to the end of that. So right here is that last end of that loop, and if I put this on a knitting needle, then when I do the next stitch, I can wrap this around like that. And it's, again, with all of the little fiddly things, but these are the little touches that to me make a big difference. And then I can, let's see if I can actually knit the stitch. Okay, there we go. Got that. And that's wrapped around, and that knitting needle is holding that tiny little tail for me. And then I've knit that stitch. Now I'm going to knit the next one, and I want to make sure that this gets anchored. Otherwise it'll just sneak out later. I didn't measure very well to get all the way to the edge, but I think it's going to be okay. So I'm going to lift this up and put it on that, lift that loop onto that needle and pull that out. And wrap that around, and then knit those two strands. So there's two strands I pulled through for that stitch right there. And then knit it off. Alright. And then we're going to knit all the way over to the end. I'm going to turn this sock around and repeat this for the knit side, except this time, because I'm on the knit side, I will only be working with the single strand of yarn. So I'm going to slip the one stitch over and put my visual marker on there. Oh, look at that. It should have been right there. Ha! All right, we're going to do something here. All right, I'm going to knit that stitch. And I have another stitch marker right here. Guys, I appreciate you being on this learning curve with me. All right, I'm going to pop this stitch marker right there. So now I know this right here is the stitch that I slipped from the purl side. Okay, here we go. Now I can just knit across the row. Alright, there's the last stitch before the marker. Ta-da! Alright, this is what short row is about, right? We're not going to knit that stitch. Now I'm going to turn this around again. Get all my yarn tails going in the right direction. And ravel off some more yarn. Okay, I'm going to slip this stitch over here. And I'm going to measure off 3 times the width of the stitches. 1, 2, 3, and fold it in half, back up to the needle, and then back again. So I have this length that's triple stranded. And then we're going to, I already slipped my stitch, so now I need to purl this one. So I'm going to take that fold, put it over, and grab the active end. Here we go. Here we go. Now we'll purl across. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause for just a moment. I should have done this earlier. All right. This right here, there is the stitch that I just slipped. So I'm going to put my stitch marker there so I know that I've slipped those 2 stitches. You want to know what's fun? I am not a professional knitter. I'm a yarn shop owner, but you know, I'm learning right along with you guys sometimes. I don't pretend to be I don't pretend to be a better stitcher than you are. I'm just one of you guys. I'm just out here showing you how to do things, showing you things that I'm learning about. We're going to learn this together, guys. We're experimenting together. There's that stitch we slipped before. So now we'll turn this around again. I'm going to take off the marker. I'm going to slip the next stitch. Make sure it stays snug. Put the marker back on so I always know where my slipped ones are. Again, you don't have to do that. That's just helping me. It's a little more challenging for me to see it with this yarn. And I am going to just knit back across. So we're going to keep doing this, slipping the first stitch or the next stitch at the beginning of each row and working across, making the, in this case, the purl side, the triple layer. Might not be the purl side for you. Yours might end up being the knit side depending on where you stopped with the body of your foot length. But we're going to keep doing that until there are 8 stitches on the needles in the middle, in between my stitch markers. This pattern calls for 10 to be in the middle, but I want mine a little bit more narrow because my feet, or my heel, is really narrow. The front of my foot is very wide and the heel of my foot is very narrow. Okay, we're going to keep just doing that. I'm going to turn it around and I am going to continue this process of slipping the first stitch and working across until I have 8 stitches active in the middle. And it will look something like this one over here. I've got it holding my thing. There we go. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8 stitches, and then there's 2, 4, 6, 8 for the other side of the heel and 8 in the middle. All right, I will see you when I get this sock to this point. Okay, we are back. So we were turning this heel, and now I have just 8 stitches left, and here are my short row stitches on the sides. I have them segregated with the stitch marker. It's not always necessary, but I think for the video it helps you to see it better. And then I have on our sample sock, I've turned the corner, and you can see in the color here that I've done this even a little bit different, continuing on with our sock experiment. This area, which is going to be the back of the heel, when you turn it this way, coming up the back of the heel, this is double stranded, where the bottom, this whole bottom from here across the bottom and the heel, that's triple stranded. And now this is going to be just double stranded. And I've got all of my stitches now back live on the needle. I'm going to show you on this sock how we go from this to this. And then I'm going to put all of this back on my 2 circular needles so that I can knit in a tube to finish the ankle and up on the sock. All right, so we are on a purl row here. So what I'm going to do, slide this up. I'm going to put my needle in this stitch. I'm going to now be double stranding the green, these 2 shades together. I am going to go ahead and just fold this yarn over like so. See how I have that? And I'm going to just lay this over the needle. And I'm going to knit with all 3 strands for that first bit, just to make sure that this is woven in, and I won't even have to weave it in later, which is going to be just brilliant. And we're going to purl across to the marker. I have my marker right there. Oh, I got something tangled up there. Oh, that's what I did. All right, here we go. Let's try that again. That and that. Okay. And then we're going to, there we go. And we're going to just purl across. All right. One more stitch. I'm now at the marker. I'm going to take this marker off. I'm going to stitch 1 from that side, and now I'm going to turn my work around. I am working with the 2 strands of 2 yarn colors together. If you were doing the 2 strand thing, you would either need a second ball, or you might need to work from both ends of the skein. Alright, now that I want to wrap this stitch, so I'm going to bring my yarn forward. I'm going to lift this stitch over to this needle, and the yarn is in the front. Now I'm going to take the yarn to the back and see how it just wraps right around there. Now I'm going to slide that stitch back, and I'm going to put the marker back on, and I'm going to knit across. There's that. Now I'm at the marker. Uh-oh, I've dropped a stitch right there. If you see that, we're just going to put that stitch right back up where it belongs. Oh my goodness. And we're going to knit it. That's the one extra. I want to check something here. how many stitches do I have on each side? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh goodness, I'm off balance. So I'm going to actually knit this one as well. There we go. So I've got how many over here? 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, perfect. Okay, now we're back in track. Okay. Now we're going to flip it around. Okay, and I want to wrap this yarn around this stitch over here. So I've got the yarn. This time I'm going to put the yarn in the back. And I'm going to transfer this over here. And then I'm going to bring the yarn back to the front. And I'm going to do that. That's going to help just kind of pull the little, you can see that gap in there. That's going to help pull that together a little bit. Alright, now when I purl this stitch right here, and I give this a little snug, it just helps to kind of pull that gap together. There we go. And we're going to just keep doing this. Knitting the knit side, purling the purl side, and picking up one extra stitch on this side of the marker on each pass until all of the stitches are back on this needle without those slipped edges. Does that even make sense? Until there's no more gap in the marker. I don't know. Until all of those previously slipped stitches are now worked. Okay, there we go. There's my marker. So I'm going to take the marker out of the way. I'm going to purl that stitch. I'm going to turn the work around. Bring my yarn to the front. Slip this stitch back onto this needle. Wrap the yarn back to the back and put this one back. Put my stitch marker back. In this case, I forgot to put that marker back, and I'll do it when I come back around, but it's not as crucial right now. Well, actually, we can go without because they're different colors. All right, now we're going to knit across. All right, now we're going to knit one of the blue ones. Okay, and then we're going to turn. I'm going to take the yarn to the back. I'm going to slide the stitch over. Bring the yarn to the front. Slide the stitch back. And continue purling. You know what? There's lots and lots of different ways to turn a heel. And this is just an example. This was the way that I learned how to do. Thanks for making it through this video. I hope that was helpful for you. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. What you didn't see in this video is after I picked all the stitches back up around the opening, one of the things that I did right here at the gusset, there tends to be a little bit more of a gap in there. And one of the helpful tips is to pick up a strand of the bar between the stitches or in the side of one of those slipped stitches for the heel. Pull it up and knit it together with the next stitch on the foot. And that helps to pull that in. The cuff I did on this is just a simple 1x1 ribbing, and I chose a stretchy bind off. I didn't calculate my yarn enough to do the Jenny's super stretchy bind off, which would have been preferred. But this is going to be fine for this particular project, and for future ones, I will just do it a little bit different. And as you can see, I did have just enough of the green from the heel to add a little stripe of my heel color at the top. So thanks very much for spending a little time with me today. I hope you found it helpful. Don't forget to follow us over on Facebook and on Instagram. And don't forget, we've got our Facebook VIP group as well, where you can ask questions, show your projects, and get all kinds of help and support. Thanks.